Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Zero HP gaming podcast. What we're going to go ahead and do today is I have a very special guest with me today, my good friend and longtime friend, Kenny. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. I'm actually really happy that you're calling me a super special guest.
Yeah.
Can I just talk about how great that is? That makes me feel really good. Because I didn't think, it was just like, yeah, Kenny's here, but apparently I'm super special, so.
Well, it totally is a special occasion because today we have an awesome topic to talk about. One that I think gets overlooked by a lot of people. And not just in gaming, but in other types of media as well, like especially movies too, because today we're going to be talking about video game music and just music in general and how it kind of helps the medium that it's in to be better and just kind of how it's kind of underappreciated.
Oh, absolutely. I think, there are insane music buffs like you and I who will just listen to soundtracks and whatever, but I think people don't really necessarily understand how important it is. Because if you really look at things, like, you have to set a mood, and music does that so well. Like, I think you were telling me about a video that a dude made where he stripped the music from a certain scene in Star Wars.
Yep.
And I actually watched that video after you told me about that, and it is the weirdest thing ever.
How awkward was it?
It was totally bad.
Awkward.
Like, there's no nothing. Like, it's nothing. And it's so weird, especially with, like, the pauses and dialogue and everything. Ugh.
Yeah, it was bad. And for any of you who are listening out there, the two people, maybe,
yes.
Who are listening out there, the video that we're talking about is, I don't remember the actual title of it, but essentially what it is it's a video of the medal ceremony from Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. And the guy who made the video basically took out all of the music around the ceremony. So what you're kind of left with is just this awkward video of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Chewbacca getting their medals at the end. And it's just them looking at each other awkwardly, and you hear Chewbacca talk, but there's no music in it. And it really shows you how important music can be in a medium like that.
I also need to go in and save face because I did use the word tension to describe that, and I realized once I was replaying it in my head, like, tension is the wrong word to use.
No.
So before anybody's like, Kenny, tension, really?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna go ahead and get started. We both have lists that we comprised together. Wow, like, your phone went off, then my phone went off.
Yeah, I know, really. It's phones, man. Who needs them?
Right? So one game we both really enjoyed the music for is Shadow of the Colossus.
Yes.
Great game, great soundtrack. And I actually own the soundtracks. Shouts out to my former neighbor for getting me that for my birthday.
Props.
Right? But it's really cool because, first of all, the music doesn't overstay its welcome, because the music doesn't, when you're traveling from Colossus to Colossus, like, it doesn't play any music. You know that, I know that. But to people who may not have played the game, when you're traveling from, like, your central place in the game to the next Colossus to go fight the bat, no music plays. And it makes you appreciate the music more because the music only comes on in crucial times when you're fighting the Colossus. Mm-hmm. And that's impressive. It's orchestral, it's beautiful. And one thing that I think I'd spoken to you previously about is that music does a really good job of not only making tension in the fight that you have, but also making you feel small.
Yeah.
And it's really...
Definitely.
With the side from two of the Colossus, Selosha and Seneba, I know them by name. Whatever. It's a nerd. The secret's out there.
Yeah, we got a bunch of sweaty nerds here in the studio.
Yeah. But it does a really good job of making you feel small, which makes the Colossus bigger, which makes the whole atmosphere of what's going on more important and more impactful, because you come in and certain ones, they have these violins that come in, you got these drums, you have these horns. Like, one thing that I remember so vividly is one of the last, like, towards the latter end of the Colossus, there's this one that you fight in, like, the sand cave called Dirge, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And
the one that's like the snake, right? That, like, it swims around under the sand and then pops back up at the end.
Yeah, and you gotta shoot it in the eye.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But just, like, they have these bells in his theme and all this other stuff, and it adds, like, this great jolting sense because you have, you're being chased by this giant sand snake, and you have these bells that are going on, you have these huge drums, these huge horns, and then even on the ladders, not the ladder, on the other side of the spectrum when you fight, I believe that one's Hydrus, which is the water snake.
Where you're on the platforms, right, and it swims under you.
Yeah, and it swims on.
Okay, yeah.
For Hydrus, I think you need to go in the water because he kind of comes on. You got to grab onto him.
Oh, okay. Right.
The platforms, I think, is Avion, which is the bird one where you shoot it with the arrow. Anyway,
Kenny would know better than I am. I honestly haven't played Shadow of the Colossus in a very long time, but I definitely think it's one of the like underappreciated gems of the PS2. Like, if any of you guys haven't played that, it's just an experience.
If you have a PlayStation 3, I recommend you get a PlayStation 3 so you skip the frame issues.
That's true, too.
But going back to my point, when you fight Hydrus, the music's a little more eerie, because you have this giant water snake. You don't necessarily know where it is. You see it a couple times because the lightning from its back will flash, and you see the silhouette in the dark water. But it's like, the music is so important to both of those that if the music wasn't, beautifully crafted the way it is, it would kind of lose its impact. Like, yeah, you're still fighting a huge monster, but we fight huge monsters in video games all the time.
Yeah, that's the staple of video games, really, is hero fights large monster, video game.
Video game, yeah, basically, because that's, like, a lot of video games, like all 90s RPGs, were just like, go fight the huge monster.
Exactly. And I think what you touched on is a really important part of that, and especially for Shadow of the Colossus. Like you were talking about how the music really makes you feel small.
Yeah.
And I think that's one part of it that's a really very well said portion of it, because I know especially when you're playing against, and I don't know the names of the Colossi, unfortunately, but if I could describe it, there was that one battle against one of the Colossi where you have to you're battling it on a bridge, and you have to get to the top of the bridge and fall on his back. There was that Colossus, and I felt that the music in that like particular part of the battle like really made you feel small, because at that point, I think that one was like the biggest Colossus that you had fought like throughout the whole game, until you get to the last one, obviously. But where you're kind of climbing the one at the end, he's like literally a building. Like, the Colossus is like this giant structure, and you just have to kind of climb up it as he shoots these like lasers at you. And
I actually, I think that might be the no. You're talking about the bridge one, but
yeah,
I don't remember that name. But I do remember one. Starts with a B. I think it's Barba or something like that. Where also makes you feel small because you have to like, he's destroying walls. He's chasing after you. You have to get over these walls, and then like, he bends down, and you have to, like, jump on his massive beard and, like, climb up his face and stuff like that. But it's just, like, the music, again, just does a great job of making you feel small. Also, looking at the Colossi, making you feel super tiny.
Yeah.
It's great. And then you have the Gaius, I believe, which is the one that you have on that like giant circle thing, where he has to hit. You have to climb up. Basically, his weapon. Yeah, you have to climb up that stone pillar. That's
a great fight too, if I remember it correctly. That was like one of the best Colossi to fight in the game.
We're just going on about Shadow of the Colossus. This should be just the Shadow Cast.
Welcome to Shadow Cast in every single episode.
The Colossi, the Colossioning.
Part 2, the Colossioning.
Part 2, the Colossioning. But, and then there's...
It's a little too close to colostomy, so...
Ooh, yeah. We don't want to... But, yeah, so that's, a game that I really wanted to bring up because it's one of my favorite games ever. Easily in my top 5. Yeah. And it's just so important, the music there. And music is just important in general, but I feel like we should start off with a very, very great example. And then, on I'll know what's on your list, so if you want to share one from
Sure,
yours.
I'll go ahead and... so basically the format we did this in is we both kind of made a little list of games that we wanted to talk about that had great score, like great musical scores, and we kind of compare and contrast and talk about it. But one of the ones I had on my list, just because I played it so recently, was actually The Last of Us.
Good.
It was a great game. I have kind of some other thoughts on it, but I'll save that for an actual like video game thing that when we talk about it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I actually had just played The Last of Us super recently because, as some of you might know, I had just bought a PS4 literally like last week. So Ian, as you guys may know from Zero HP, just gave me a slew of games to play, and he gave me like Bloodborne, The Last of Us.
Great games.
Yeah, great games. And then literally after he's done giving me this pile of games, he's like, you know what, with those other games, just fuck the rest of those games. Just play The Last of Us. And I was like, all right, I have to.
How can you say fuck Bloodborne? Anyway, as an aside, before you get to your point about that music, Ian owes me a sound file. I haven't pressed him about it, but I feel like it's a great time to bring it up right now on a podcast. Yeah. Because you guys did your Battlefront video, and he did like the E911 blaster sound.
Yeah,
and pew, pew thing. Yeah, I need that as a text tone.
It is a great sound effect. Ian, we're just gonna need to commission sound effects for him, like, because he's just so good at it. We'll just put it in. We'll put it in random spots in our podcast.
Get a soundboard of all Ian sounds.
When we cuss or like say a swear word, we'll just have his sound effect play over it to just cover it, just so we can use it.
All right, so going back to The Last of Us.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I had only played it super recently, and it was a game that came out in the last generation of games for PS3. And PS3 was actually the only video games station in the last couple of years that I never really partook in. I think the only reason I honestly played PS3 was so that I could play Metal Gear Solid 4.
Great game.
Because it is a PS3 exclusive.
Good game.
And I did play Metal Gear Rising as well on PS3. So, you should have seen the look on Kenny's face as soon as I said that. He just got really excited. But we will be talking about Metal Gear Rising at some point.
It's on both of our lists.
It is on both of our lists.
So continue about The Last of Us, and maybe talk about like a scene that was really impactful to you. I think that'll also, help this along, instead of us just like, yeah, that game's music's good. Next game. That's good.
Yeah, I feel ya. So, if I could think of a scene in particular, and for those of you who haven't played the game or haven't experienced it, maybe might get into a little bit of spoiler territory. So if you don't want to know absolutely anything about the story, then I would go ahead and fast forward. But anyway, there's this one scene that I can remember really well when you as the main character and Ellie are going to I believe it's in Colorado. There's some sort of university you have to go to in order to find the cure from the Fireflies. And one of the things that game does really well is the game makes you feel like you're really in an apocalypse. You're really in an environment where there's not a lot of people left. Humanity's just kind of gone to shit. And you're just kind of left picking up the pieces of like humanity that once was before the apocalypse happened, essentially. So there's like these really nice like woodwind instruments playing, and there's kind of like, it's very eerie sounding. Because, as you can imagine, if you're walking through a town that's been abandoned for, like, 20 years and just people have died there, there's going to be this kind of weird feeling in the air of, like, death and, like, loss. And one of the big themes of The Last of Us is, like, loss, right? Mm-hmm. Because so many people die in the game, whether they're, like, a main character or not, really. And you kind of feel that theme throughout the whole game, and the music really reflects that and brings it out in a very, like, musical crescendo that, like, you can definitely feel the emotion in the air. Like, there was one scene in particular, too, where you're in the town with Bill. He's this guy who Joel has to get supplies from. You owe him a favor, so he has to fix up your car so you can get out of the town. Yeah. And one of the scenes, you race through this town and you get through this, like, school gym, and then you end up in this house where his partner had died before, and you kind of get there, and he had just realized that his partner had died, so he's kind of like busted up about it, and the music gets really emotional. And for really all of the emotional parts of the game, they have this kind of score that like really brings you to like the verge of tears. It's a very like emotional game, and especially like I know I'm kind of dancing around to different parts of the game, so you'll have
the spoilers away.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me, but especially in the beginning sequence. Now that I just thought about it, the beginning sequence when the game first starts and you're Joel and your daughter, and you guys are kind of running away from the military. Yeah. And spoiler alert for anybody who doesn't want to know again, is that Joel's daughter before the apocalypse dies.
Yes.
And me having played through that opening sequence before was hard again. Like, I already had known what happened before when I had played it a while ago.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Like,
yeah, and I was just like, I can't, like, I've seen this happen before. I knew it was coming, but it still left an emotional impact on me.
Oh, absolutely.
Regardless.
And I feel like even though that scene would be emotional without the music, adding music to things just further impacts things. And I would even go as far as to say, maybe not in that particular game, but I feel in games and in some movies that if you take the music out, there's really nothing to be felt there. Like,
yeah,
music is not, a lot of times, not supposed to be at the forefront of things. It's supposed to be in the background, but it's so important for being in the background.
Yeah.
So Last of Us is a good example. We're gonna kind of get away from the orchestral pieces real quick and talk about a game I love so much, and I know Taylor loves so much, Metal Gear Rising. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Great soundtrack.
And the best thing is not only that the music was good, but in the way that they used it, fantastic. Where, for people who don't know, when you have your boss fights in that game, certain parts of the track will only play at certain parts of the fight. Mm-hmm. So when you're fighting, your first boss fight,
Metal
Gear Ray, it's really cool because, like, you just have this rock theme in the back, and you're like, okay, this is pretty cool. And the song is called Rules of Nature, and in that song, the singer screams Rules of Nature really loud. But that moment doesn't come on till, like, Ryan, with his super robot strength, whatever, throws the ray into the air and starts, you start running on the ray, and you're, like, cutting them up as you're running, and then as soon as you start doing that, you hear Rules of Nature really loud, and it's fantastic.
It's a headbanger, for sure.
It really
Especially
is.
as a fan of, like, rock metal music, like, that whole soundtrack has really good, like, J-rock on it. And, like, especially one thing I think that's really cool too is, like, especially for like Japanese music in general, mm-hmm. like K-pop or J-rock, stuff like that. Like, it's got a really good soundtrack for all those kind of genres. Mm-hmm. And as a big fan of that, I love hearing music like that, and I thought it fits so well into what the game actually is, which is like a spectacle fighter. Yeah. It really pumps you up too. Like, the soundtrack gets you ready for those fights. Like, those the boss fights are just so dynamic. Like, especially, I know I'm skipping towards the end of the game.
I was about to say, but we got to talk about Armstrong.
Armstrong, man, what a great boss fight! Like,
even the lyric in that song that I'm about to reference is great. I'm not gonna try to sing anything because singing is not my talent. But the lyric is violence means violence. Or violence breeds violence, but in the end it has to be this way. And again, that line, when the singer comes in with that line, only plays when he's doing certain things in the fight. So, like, I think what happens is he starts throwing giant pillars of stuff at you.
Yeah.
And he's, like, lifting it up to show you his power, because, Armstrong's, like, you think he's a senator dude, so you think he's gonna be this pencil-pushing dweeb, but no, he's, like, this really huge ripped guy.
He's this ripped football-playing, like linebacker type
with nanomachines.
Nanomachine, son.
Nanomachine, son. And, he's throwing these pillars at you, and then it's violence. I said I wasn't going to sing, but I'm going to do it. Breeds violence, and it's great, and you're cutting the pillars, and you're trying to do the fight. It's great. The Jetstream Sam theme is great, in which...
Oh, yeah, that's a great fight, too, in general.
Fantastic. Like, I think there's only, like, 2 fights in that whole game I didn't really like, and
Yeah.
that was Mistral and Sundowner was okay.
See, I don't know the ones by name because I know the.
I know too many names of things.
I know, like I just remember experiences honestly, and not the
Yeah.
names. But the worst boss fight to me in the game was the one with the girl who had like the exploding like little the mini
Mistral.
Was that the one that you were
That's
thinking
her
of?
name.
Yeah, that one was kind of like but the music was good. I still remember.
Oh yeah,
so.
the music's great. I mean, and I can't tell you how many times if I have the ability to in a game, if I've beaten it a couple of times and I'm comfortable with it, I will turn down the voices and turn down the sound effects significantly just so I can listen to the music.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually kind of fun. It's a little hard though because you're so used to sound effect cues.
Right.
And so when that's significantly turned down, like you have to rely on basically your sense of sight and your knowledge of the game, but it's still fun to do.
Yeah. I was going to say, just because that had totally reminded me of a game that I didn't put on my list, but that I wanted to talk about that I do all the time, is World of Warcraft, actually.
I am not an experienced WoW player, so this information is new to me. Please.
Okay.
Go on.
As a seasoned World of Warcraft player of, like, a long-ass time, and I mean, probably since the Burning Crusade, I think, is when I started playing.
I like how you had to look over to your stack of expansions.
Yeah, I literally have a stack of all the WoW expansions on my desk. But to get back to the point, basically, that honestly, that's one of those games where I turn off the sound when I play. I turn off the voices and like the battle animation, the attacks. I turn off all of that and I just have the music on because for an MMO you wouldn't think to have such a really good soundtrack. World of Warcraft actually has an amazing soundtrack to it.
I will relate that to Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Has a fantastic soundtrack, and I feel like it's unfair to talk about that since we are going to talk about other Final Fantasy games a little bit later. But
this is off topic. I mean, we're gonna be, for those who don't know already, if you're 20 minutes into this, you know we're bouncing around between subjects. So,
but that MMO also has a great soundtrack, which is unfair because it has so many songs, but some of the songs are like remix versions of old songs from older Final Fantasy, some of them are new composers, and I think MMOs generally need a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
I've played MMOs with a bad soundtrack, or no soundtrack, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's...
There's this game I used to play called Shia back in the day, and its soundtrack was awful.
Like how so?
It felt like somebody made those soundtracks in like the most generic free downloadable
some Fruity Loops kind of
thing. Like cracked Fruity Loops as well. Like it
Garage Band.
Yeah, it felt like somebody just made this on a keyboard in like an afternoon, and
an afternoon.
And the better part about it is like you'd enter a city and then it'd play some music for like 30 seconds, and then that was it.
Yeah. And
then everything else was just noise of people running around and jumping on things, and I was like,
this is terrible.
Yeah, this is bad.
Oh, well, one thing I want to bring up, just going back to World of Warcraft too, is like the thing about World of Warcraft's musical score that made it so special to me, I think, was the fact that it evoked such a feeling of like adventure in you.
Yeah.
Like, I know as probably because I started playing WoW when I was a lot younger, is one of the things I really remember and miss about early World of Warcraft is just the sense of like exploration was real. Like, you were walking through like Elwyn forest and you were like, oh, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm just gonna head in some random direction in this forest, and wherever it takes me is where I'm gonna go.
Yeah. And
I remember just like walking through that forest, and then you finally hit the road and you're like, oh, where does this road go? And then finally as you lead up to the road, you're like, oh shit, it's Stormwind City. And it's just big and sprawling, and there's those statues of like the fallen heroes of the Alliance, and you're like, Oh fuck, man! Like the music is
all
so
about the Horde. That's all I know about World of Warcraft.
I was gonna say, well, I'm more of an Alliance player, so I know people are gonna jump on me for that regardless.
I hope that some of that negativity will just be thrown at me for not playing it at all. So I'm hoping I can be a good buffer for you.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But anyway, so that's one thing I really liked about the soundtrack for WoW, especially in vanilla WoW, and then like. The Burning Crusade really had that soundtrack that kind of gave you that sense of adventure and really wanted to make you explore this giant fucking world that, you know, is so steeped in fantasy that it really hit me where it should have. And I think it's a very underlooked score. But enough about me. Give me, Kenny, one of your other ones.
Persona 4.
Okay. Now here is where, like you on the last round, I'm just gonna let you take the reins on this because I have never played a Persona game, unfortunately. So I will just let you talk about it because I have no experience with the game whatsoever.
All right, so Persona 4 is a game. It's a JRPG. It's great. It's made by the people at Atlas who make great games.
Yeah.
I think they consistently make games. But the thing about Persona that's very nice is even though its tracks aren't super long, it's not a super extensive list of, like, songs.
Right.
You know, if you were to buy the soundtrack, you're not getting, like, a 3-disc soundtrack with, like, 20 tracks a disc. You know what I mean? Like, but it does a good job of making songs that you don't mind listening to. I know the overworld themes, like when, you know, you have your overworld stuff and you're, you know, doing stuff in the town, those songs will actually cycle and rotate. And so, like, there's a song that I like called Your Affection, and it's, like, really cool because I get really excited and I'm like, oh man, you know, this song came on. Like, cool. I'm running around town listening to one of my favorite tracks in the game. Right. The battle track, because one thing that turnstile RPGs and JRPGs especially can suffer from is if your regular battle music isn't great, it becomes stale over time. And like there's a point where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of hearing this song. I'm tired of hearing this battle song. And not saying, you know, their battle song is the best battle song to ever exist, but I don't mind listening to it. Like, it's catchy. Like, it's not too one way or the other. It's not, like, you know, super annoying every time you hear it. Or it's not this grandiose piece of whatever.
Great word. I love the word grandiose. I don't know why. I love the way it sounds.
But it's not like this huge, you know, 72-piece symphony track. Like, it's a nice track. It was, you know, well-written, well-made, and, like, I don't mind listening to it. Even if it's one of those things that, like, I tune it out. Like, I'm not just like, oh, man, I hate this song. The boss battles theme is great. They do a good job of making the music very tense when, you know, tension calls for it. Because, spoilers, it's about, you know, teenagers solving, you know, a murder mystery. And so sometimes when they're, like, confused or, like, they're coming up against a problem, like, certain tracks will play this really kind of... This piano track will play that's, you know, kind of gives you the sense of confusion and kind of eeriness. It's really nice. That's all I have on Persona 4, though, because I'm not going to, you know, make it too long, because I want, you know, to have... we have more games. We have
a lot of games, honestly.
I honestly don't think we're going to
strap in and make popcorn. Or
strap in to make popcorn. Or do what I do when I listen to podcasts and just play other video games or do your laundry.
Yeah, honestly, I do that a lot now. Like, especially I feel like as I get older, the more I listen to something, whether it be music or like podcast or something, and then play something else, it is the best multitasking you can do.
Another game that I've played that I don't think you've played that I just want to talk about real quick, Jet Set Radio.
I played it a little bit, but I definitely don't have enough experience with it.
Those tracks are just fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. The art style's fun. The concept is fun. You're got people rollerblading and graffitiing stuff.
Yes.
Like, it's, you know, it's super cartoony. It's super wacky, you know. Main villain, his hair goes off in crazy different direction and moves and stuff like that. It's a fun game, and it's great because all those tracks are just fun tracks, which gets me to another game that I'm going to talk about. One thing that I expressed to Taylor,
that's me.
Yeah, that's you. Another thing that I expressed to him the other day was sometimes fighter game soundtracks can be they can be cool, but it's kind of hard to put tension and make you feel a certain kind of way with those because, you know, you're putting in music. It's supposed to sound cool.
Yeah.
But in this game that I love, Capcom...
It's more about the experience than... For, like, in fighting games, it's more about building the experience of, like, the game itself than actually to make you feel a certain way, I think.
Yeah.
So...
Like, you're not supposed to feel sad when you're playing fighter games.
Yeah.
Like, that's generally... You're supposed to be like, man, this track is cool. It's cool fighting to this track, but like that's about it.
I don't think you're gonna feel many
emotionally evoke anything out of that.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna have many feels when Spider-Man is beating the shit out of Mega Man and
and
Marvel vs. Capcom.
Right, like oh man, it's unless you're really attached to Mega Man. And just...
Poor Mega Man. He's already getting the shaft enough from Capcom. So.
Right. Thanks for putting Mega Man in Smash, though.
I know, right?
But yes, Capcom vs. SNK 2, really fun tracks. I'll have to play a couple for you later, because it's really nice when you have a game and it's just like, yeah, these tracks are just fun. This game is just fun. The marketing is fun. So, yeah, that's a couple games I just wanted to shout out real quick. We're going to get into some of the deeper cuts. Deeper cuts. Because I know you have a bunch of Legend of Zelda games on that list.
I do have a lot of Legend of Zelda games. First of all, bringing up Legend of Zelda music, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Ocarina of Time. Now, I feel like, especially within like the past couple years, Ocarina of Time has it's kind of gone through this weird like hipstery like, I don't like that game anymore because people think it's overrated.
It's like the Final Fantasy VII of Legend of Zelda.
Perfect analogy. And it's like, you know what? I'm not afraid to say. I mean, it's not my favorite Legend of Zelda game. My personal favorite is Twilight Princess. But I feel like sometimes...
I'm kidding.
Oh, I was going to say, man. Don't make me cry. But I think that in an odd way, people have kind of shied away from liking Ocarina of Time, and now it's kind of a thing where people are embarrassed to like it for some reason.
It's a good game. Like, I don't understand why... You know, I think it's because it's kind of one of those things where, again, getting off topic from music, I feel it's one of those things where people may feel like they've had some sort of overexposure to it. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, oh, of course you like Ocarina of Time. Yeah. Well, you didn't play Wind Waker, and I bet you didn't play Majora's Mask. And you know what I think it's kind of this, you know, diehard Legends of Zelda fans kind of developed this elitism because a lot of people have played Ocarina of Time, and a lot of people liked Ocarina of Time, but it, you know, became that way, so it became so... Like I said, too much exposure. It's overexposed. I think there's like something, I don't know if like there's like a phrase that's coined of it. Yeah. But a lot of people have said that like there's like there's a Legend of Zelda like syndrome thing. Yeah. Where people will hate the game that's out now, like the newest current gen Legend of Zelda game. And then as soon as the next one comes out, everybody loves the last one. Yeah. So, like, perfect example being Skyward Sword. Yeah. Like, a lot of people have this dying, burning hatred for Skyward Sword. But, like, I think when it first came out, people tend to hate it a lot more. Yeah. Kind of like Wind Waker was. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, what's this art style? It looks really kiddie. Like, why? Like, we want a serious dark Zelda. Right. It's kind of the same thing. Like, people didn't really like Skyward Sword, and now it's kind of like people are kind of coming around to it. Yeah. And I'll guarantee you by the time Zelda U comes out, or Zelda Wii U, or whatever it's going to be called,
people will really like Skyward Sword, and
absolutely.
It's kind of like a weird trend that goes on with Zelda fans. I feel.
I get that. I mean, as a super diehard Final Fantasy fan, I'm gonna keep this short so we can get back to the music.
Right.
People say the same thing about 7. It's like, it's cool to not like 7.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, a Final Fantasy game will come out and they'll hate it because they compare it to old Final Fantasies, which I didn't, you know, like, yeah, Square Enix has made some not so great decisions with their games, but I don't think they've necessarily been, like, putting out horrible games
it's
lately.
not like the Final Fantasy series. I don't really think there's a dumpster fire game in the Final Fantasy series.
Yeah, well, you may not like one, but like for me, I could personally say that there are some games where I'm like, if you're trying to get into the series, I don't feel you need to play this one, but if you're a diehard fan, you got to play them. Like, you're going to buy it, you're going to play it, like you're a fan. That's what it is. And so I think people need to kind of come off this high horse, but maybe that'll be a subject for another podcast about, you know, fans and receiving games or something.
Yeah, that's definitely one I'd love to talk about.
We'll take that idea to the lab.
we will take it to the lab.
But going back to Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, so basically,
great soundtrack. Yeah,
it's a great soundtrack. Honestly, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I was talking about with WoW. I felt like a lot of that game was very exploration based, where you're going from, you know, Kakariko Village to the castle square to the Kokiri Village to the Lost Wood. Like, each one has their own like little theme. And I mean, who doesn't get the Lost Woods theme stuck in your head every once in a while?
And it inspired so many nerds to pick up an ocarina. Like,
oh yeah, exactly.
That potato flute.
Or if you're like the potato flute, that's great. Or if you're like me, you didn't even know an ocarina was a thing that existed.
Right? Yeah.
Legend of Zelda. So I mean, but
I wonder what instrument they're gonna do next, like Legend of Zelda Pan Flute Adventures.
I'd probably play it.
I'd buy it. Like, even as me just throwing it out there right now.
I'm still waiting for Legend of Zelda Didgeridoo Hero. So I mean,
just wait till I start sipping my drink to throw that out there. All right, Nintendo, that was free.
Yeah, you can have that.
That was free. Also, I got.
Give me a little bit of money. I need some money.
But I also got I talked about this with Taylor earlier. I got one for the people who make Call of Duty and the Call of Duty Black Modern Future. 3 Wars.
Oh, dude, I'm so down for Call of Duty Black Modern Future.
Yep, that's but yeah. Again, digressing. We're getting back to the music, but yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel Nintendo in general just has great soundtracks. I feel. I
do, yeah. They definitely. There's no expenses. What's the term? No expense
spared.
Yeah, no expense spared when it comes to a Nintendo game. They always usually have really well crafted soundtracks.
I was actually reading back in the day. You know, when I read as a hobby, but the guy who makes the Mario music. Or, I don't know if he still does it, but he was talking about how he wanted to make a theme that wasn't horrible to listen to over and over and over again. And I think that's a great, like, thing to do, because, like, if you even play the first Mario, you hear that song a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, you gotta make music.
You gotta respect how iconic it is, though, too.
Yeah, it's like, you gotta make music that people aren't gonna get tired of. And Nintendo just does a great job of doing that. And even remixing old tracks. I know in Mario Kart 8, one of my favorite racing games ever is F-Zero.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the Mute City level, and the remix of it has, like, super great saxophone. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, shouts out to Nintendo. All their first-party soundtracks are really good. Really, really good.
They are.
I will even throw it back to Earthbound.
Oh, that one's for you, Craig. If you're listening out there, Craig is a huge Earthbound fan.
The games are great,
and I had to bring it up too, because actually there was I'm so glad you actually brought up Earthbound, because there's one song in Earthbound, I think it's called the O-Net theme or something like that. It's for that city, and I remember we were hanging out one time, and for some reason, I just thought that the Onet theme sounded like burger eating music. Like,
yeah,
it just like it just sounded so like burgery. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
We should have played that last night at Paul's birthday when we were having the burgers.
We should have.
Oh, good.
That's when you know a theme is good, when two people just bust out into song.
Right, it's great. Let's see, what else do I have on my list? Let's talk about some Final Fantasies.
Let's do it.
6, Final Fantasy 6, which
6,
the one with Kefka.
Whoa.
Yeah,
so I just have to do that every time
because it's even impressive when they don't even have the technology to like make. To have super orchestral pieces or whatever, and they just take it and they knock it out of the park. Kefka's theme is great. It starts out with this, there's probably an orchestral remix to it because it feels like it was made
any old 8-bit songs. I'm sure have like actual like orchestral.
Yeah,
remixes.
like it has this great lead in. It's got this great lead in. It builds up. It starts. It gets going and it keeps going. So, generally speaking, Square does have good music, like, Going Back to the Future. We're just time jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
There's, Bravely Default? Their final boss theme has a great title track, has a great title, Serpent Eating the Ground. It sounds really metal, right?
That sounds like an episode to a show that I really want to watch.
Yeah, Serpent Eating the Ground. And I think about that now because there's this great, and I'll play it for you later, but it's got this part where there's just this guitar solo and the way he's like playing all these notes and the way they're like ordered. It literally reminds me of everything falling to pieces and things like spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
And I think especially a final boss theme should be everything that you're waiting for. It should be everything that you're waiting for. It should be like
a culmination of all of the kind of scores you've heard previously in the game equaled up into one kind of like crescendo of like like awesomeness.
Oh, absolutely. Like if the final boss theme is not great, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that those are really important. More Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy 7.
Oh yeah.
Great music.
I think my favorite, well, it's probably because mostly I have a lot of affection for 7 anyway, but I think Final Fantasy 7 might actually have my favorite score out of any of them. 10, Final Fantasy 10 being close behind, though.
Sephiroth's theme.
Oh, perfect. Oh, yeah, I love that song so much.
It's really good. I mean, the remix version in Advent Children is just with guitars.
It makes the metalhead in me like happy when I hear that song. It's just so good.
Well, it made me happy because at the time when I heard it, I was really into Avenged Sevenfold.
You're not still into Avenged Sevenfold?
I am not still into Avenged Sevenfold.
I'm a big Avenged Sevenfold fan.
There's nothing wrong with Avenged Sevenfold.
If Jimmy's listening out there, Jimmy's got my back on that one.
You know a guy named Jimmy?
Of course.
I feel like everyone's lying to me when they say that.
No, Jimmy's a part of Zero HP.
What?
Yeah, he needs to be in more videos. He's got a lot of stuff going on he's got like his band. He's in a band.
Yeah.
So he hasn't had a lot of time, but we're trying to get him back into the fold.
Nice.
Because pretty much right now it's me, Kevin, and Ian who are kind of the big contributors. Mm-hmm. But Chris and Jimmy are both also in Zero HP. But they're in a band together, so it's kind of hard to like implement them. But
yeah,
we're gonna add them in, and you guys out there will see them when we finally get to it. But anyway,
that's good. I still can't believe you know a guy named Jimmy. Anyway,
great dude, love him.
Yeah,
if you're listening out there, Jimmy, love him.
Final Fantasy X's got some great music too. The summon hymns, I forget what they're called. The Ode to whatever, I believe, but they're also great. With the people singing. Seymour's theme I like
Seymour's theme. Yeah.
A lot of people, like, I know somebody that I went to high school with who just hates that theme.
Really?
I don't understand why.
No, I think it sets the mood perfectly for that boss battle.
Oh, like, absolutely.
For what it's worth, that might be one of my favorite themes of the. Well, I do like the boss battle against Sin. That has a really good theme to it. That might be my favorite, but Seymour's one is definitely like a close second.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Square, when they... Like, Square knocks it out of the park with music all the time. Even though people don't like Final Fantasy 13 that much, I'm not a big hater of it. That battle theme...
I'm not a big fan of it, personally.
That battle theme, though...
Yeah, it does have a great battle theme.
It's a great battle theme, and it goes back to what I was saying about Persona. It's just like, you gotta make sure that it's something that people are okay with hearing. Yeah. I love that battle theme. When I go play Dungeons & Dragons with my friends, we play that battle theme, like, at least once a night. It's a good theme. Like,
it is.
You know, and
they have good individual character themes too, like Snow and Lightning both have really good like themes for just their characters. Yeah. I think. So I'll give a little bit of props to 13. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of it, but it does have great music.
I actually have Saz's theme. I think I have that whole soundtrack on my iPod, but I was listening to Saz's theme the other day. And it's this nice little jazzy track, and it goes back to, like, they have good character themes. Fun fact, I almost cosplayed Saz before, but I don't have an afro anymore. I have dreadlocks now.
Damn. So. Did you have, like, the little birds and everything?
No, I couldn't find a bird to sit still.
you couldn't train one in time for the
Because, I mean, you gotta, I'm pretty sure freak the bird out, because, like, you try to get it to sit still.
You get a fake one.
Sit in an afro, and then I gotta dye it yellow. I'm pretty sure, like...
Dye it yellow?
I'm pretty sure a bird would have some reserves about being dyed yellow.
Yeah, PETA might come after you. Yeah. You never know.
So yeah, shouts out to Square Enix for knocking it out the park consistently knocking it out the park with music. That's the one. Even if I don't like a game, good music. Mm-hmm. What else do we have on these lists?
Let's see. I have one. I think that I'd really like to bring up. One that's kind of like an older game too. For those of you out there who are longtime PlayStation fans, one of the games I have on my list is Crash Bandicoot. Like, how jazzy and bassy are those theme songs?
Flashbacks to my sister playing that game because I never really got my hands on it.
Oh, such great games.
Insomniac made those games, right?
No. Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog made Insomniac made Spyro.
Yeah, which is
great.
Yeah, I can see how you get them mixed up, but yeah, definitely.
Because they had that crossover game.
They did, yeah, which was kind of not that great. But I remember having those games and I was like, these are not what I expected. But I love, especially number 2. Well, number 3 has a good soundtrack,
Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Revenge?
Yeah. No. I know that's super immature, but that's why I was laughing.
Crash, whatever. Naughty Dog, that's free.
No, Crash Bandicoot 2 is, was it Wrath of Cortex? Now,
yeah, I think it is Return of Wrath. Wrath of Cortex, I believe it's...
Okay, well, number 2. Anyway, so number 2 I really liked because it had like these really like, and I wish we could honestly like play a 5-second thing of the music
without
over
getting flagged.
Yeah, without getting copyrighted, because I really would love like for us to be able to play them.
Yeah,
but Crash Bandicoot 2 has so many themes that are super jazzy and very bassy. Like, if you remember, one of my favorite themes is the one from the ice levels, is the one that's like the do 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 do.
Yeah,
so good.
I liked the special thing levels when you just like came in. It was like,
oh yeah. The bonus stages.
Those bonus stages, yeah. Also, shouts out to those water ones where you would be like running through the rapids or whatever, and it had like that guitarish kind of thing. I know. Like, I know once you hear it.
Yeah, if I heard it, I would know.
I know once you hear it, and once everybody hears it, they'll understand what I'm talking about. But it's like it's like those levels where you were like had to traverse the water on like that little surfboard with the engine attached to it, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And
I get you now. With all the little like piranha plants.
Yeah. That one.
Now I get you. It was really good to see. The third one had really good music too, because the theme of it was going back in time. It was Crash Bandicoot Warped. So like whenever you'd go to different time periods, they'd have like different music from those time periods. And one of the things I remember really well about it was there was kind of like a Middle Eastern level, and when you went to that level, it would play like very like percussive, like really like percussive and like Middle Eastern like snake charmer kind of sounding
whatever
flute.
That instrument is.
Yeah, flute, I don't know. But
somebody knows, please comment.
Yeah, like, please, if you do, let us know. But I just thought it was cool, the attention to detail, and then like you'd go back in time to like medieval ages, and there'd be like a level where you just have like lutes and classic stringed instruments from like the medieval times. It was really good attention to detail.
Oh, that is really good. Spyro did a very similar thing.
Spyro too.
Spyro has very good music. So I think it's, they're like, I'm sorry to anybody if they have like a game that they really love. Or you can tell us a game that you really love that, has a great soundtrack, because there's like too many to list.
Yeah, honestly, I think
we're honestly coming to the end of said list. Yeah,
we're just about like closing in on ours. But yeah, if you guys have any out there, please let us know, because I would love to, if there's any that we missed or overlooked, definitely please let us know about it. I would love to.
Yeah, a couple more shout outs. Metal Gear in general.
Yeah.
Snake Eaters always.
What a thrill in darkness and silence through the night. Dun, 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 dun.
Right? That COD theme, that dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Well, that too.
So good.
Oh gosh. So just a couple shout outs. I know we have some movies to talk about.
We do have some movies, yeah.
Because we said at the beginning we're going to talk about video games and other media. So now that we, wasted 50 minutes of your time talking about video game music, let's waste
maybe like 10 or 15 minutes.
10 or 15 minutes about,
movies. So one thing I think we should bring up first of all, because if any of you know me out there, I'm a fan of anything else. If I'm a fan of anything else, it's Star Wars. And if we're going to talk about classic themes and musical scores, we could not bring up John Williams and his Star Wars themes.
Oh, yes. Oh, God.
The Force theme, man, is like one of my favorite themes of any movie of all time. Especially when it plays in Episode 4, A New Hope, when Luke's kind of looking out at the twin suns, and you get that theme coming over you, and it gives you that longing to like do something more than what you're doing,
Yeah.
It speaks to you in the way that like you can relate to Luke as a character, because he really wants to get off of Tatooine, and he wants to become something more. Oh yeah. I mean, we pretty much live in a desert, Arizona, so I mean,
no Sarlacc pits, though.
No, thank God.
Right?
Thank God.
Goodness, planet-spanning monsters. Let's just because Tatooine wasn't hardcore enough.
Yeah, if he didn't have bounty hunters and a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
I'll be careful. You'll be dead.
There you go.
So yeah, just Star Wars, of course, like, is the first thing to come to anyone's mind in this room.
Oh yeah.
We gotta talk about Duel of Fates.
Duel of Fates. Oh my God. Okay, that's oh gosh. Even the prequels, like a lot of people shit on the prequels a lot.
Yeah, great music though. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
off.
I
was just gonna say I'm a prequel defender for those of you out there. I do think they're not so great movies, and the original trilogy is still my favorite. But I do hold love for the prequels, and they indeed had great soundtracks.
Absolutely, especially when Obi-Wan and Anakin were fighting on Mustafar.
Mustafar, yep.
Great soundtrack. It kind of, the soundtrack distracts me from the weird lightsaber moment they have where they're twirling their lightsabers and they're not hitting anything, but whatever. But, like, if that scene had no music, it'd still probably be a really cool scene, like aesthetically, but it'd still be so weird.
You
like,
wouldn't get the same like emotion you would from two really good friends battling to the death, essentially.
Right. Exactly. And so it's like one of those things where you realize, even though, you know, people think music wouldn't be that important, like, you can't make a movie without music.
Yeah.
You can't make a video game without music.
I agree.
You know, and it's so important. Music is so important to all sorts of mediums, except for, like, books or something.
Yeah. I mean, you could play music in the background of your book, but I don't think you'll have much, I don't think you'll be able to concentrate as well. That's why there's audiobooks.
That's why there's audiobooks. I actually read, like, the first Hunger Games book listening to the Blast Blue soundtrack, and it was weird.
Didn't mix.
Well, yeah, because, like, when the really slow moments were going on, it was just like, oh, here's this wailing guitar theme in the back. I would, since I brought up Blast Blue, I have to shout out Daisuke Shiwatari, who does the, you know, who works at Arxis, and it's crazy because he's like the hardest working man ever. Because in Blast Blue, like, he wrote the story, he drew some characters, he made the game, and did the music. And even though, like, you
Trooper, man. Trooper.
Yeah, Guilty Gear, which is, like, you know, his first series of games, even though the music is kind of like super butt rock, it's still good super butt rock.
It's good butt rock.
It's good butt rock. So, other movies that I would like to talk about. I was just thinking about this today. I'm a really big fan of the Django Unchained soundtrack. I know, like,
it does.
Were you the one that didn't like that movie that much?
Yeah, I wasn't as big of a fan of Django Unchained, but I do agree that the score is excellent.
Yeah.
Because Quentin Tarantino puts a lot of excellent filmmaker, and I think in his scores, I mean, he doesn't compose them, obviously, but in his movies, they always have really good scores. I mean, one I can think of is Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Has a really great score. Reservoir Dogs has another really good score with the weird radio that the one guy plays. I forget his name, Mr. Blue or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on. Sorry.
And I think the thing with Quentin Tarantino and music is it's really nice because he, as a director, he's really hands in on everything that he does.
Right.
And so he gets his hands in everything. I would feel bad if we didn't talk about Hayao Miyazaki.
Oh yeah. And
Great
all the
scores.
Studio Ghibli movies have excellent scores.
Which brings me to a video game that I think Studio Ghibli helped with, which is Ni no Kuni.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if you play that game.
I've heard a lot about it. I have not played it.
The music in that game, fantastic. Your overworld theme, it feels vast. It's incredible. It's all orchestral.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's, if you ever get a chance, play Ni no Kuni. It's a pretty good game.
I've been meaning to. I know, it was one of the games I think last year I was really trying to check out, but just never got around to it. But it's definitely on my radar.
You have any movies you want to list?
Yes, actually. One movie I think I've talked about in a previous Zero HP thing, so like I apologize if I'm seeming redundant. But the movie Drive actually has an amazing soundtrack to it. Like,
I haven't seen it.
It's a great movie. We should watch it sometime. But anyway, because I'm trying to get more people into it. It came out in 2011. And
really?
Yeah. And it's
that old?
Yeah. Isn't it weird to think something from 2011 is old?
Well, I mean, like, in film years.
Yeah. But okay, it basically, I got it recommended to me by some people who are like underground, like film fans who are like, you have to check out this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And the thing about this movie is it was marketed as like a as like kind of like a Fast and Furious movie, like car chase, like action type movie.
Yeah.
But a lot of people didn't like it because they went into the movie and it's actually a very, very dramatic film that utilizes music in such a great way because it has a soundtrack to it that's very 80s sounding with like synthesizer. And it's very dark sounding, like an 80s movie, you know, like an 80s kind of theme movie would.
Yeah.
But it's a great movie, honestly. I watched it, and it instantly was put in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Like that. And, yeah, it's just got that really great 80s score to it. It's got a lot of, like, hyped up moments because it has like a thriller aspect to it where there's like some action and there's like tense scenes, and the score to it's just awesome. Like, bar none, I don't know if I'd ever own a movie score, like a soundtrack other than Star Wars, really. Mm-hmm. But Drive would be up there if I could own another one.
If you can own another one.
Yeah. Is there any other ones that you kind of had on your mind as far as movies go?
Movies, no, because I don't watch movies as much as I should.
Yeah.
I listen, to a lot of CDs and stuff. But I guess going back to video games, a couple more shout-outs. Undertale, which is a game that's been blowing up recently, has a very good final boss theme. A game that isn't necessarily particularly a great game, but has good music is Asura's Wrath. If you ever get a chance to listen to the soundtrack, it's really cool. You do a boss fight on the moon, and it actually has my favorite orchestral piece in that game, which is, I think the guy's last name is Drovak, but it's like A New World, and it's a section of that, and I don't know, there's something about being on the moon that invokes that song, because another game, Killer is Dead, has a remix version of that orchestral piece when you're fighting the final boss on the moon. That's awesome. I don't know what about, like, between that orchestral piece and being on the moon has to do with each other, but I think it's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
A game that a lot of people haven't played, that's one of my favorites, not necessarily a good game, but I enjoy, is El Shaddai Ascension of the Metroton.
I have not heard of that.
So. Yeah. Usually when I tell people about that game, they're like, what? Great music.
Yeah.
Great music. A very artistic game, so maybe, I'll bring it over one day, or you can come to my house and we'll take a look at it.
Yes, I would love to, actually.
Yeah. So I think that exhausts my list. Chrono Trigger is also on that list.
Chrono Trigger's great.
Good game. That that final boss theme, that scream, that iconic scream. Mm-hmm. Just Also, shouts out to Chrono Trigger for not trying to explain its time travel too much.
Yeah.
Because once you get into that, it becomes muddy.
Very clusterfuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see.
Wait, I was able to curse this whole time?
Yeah.
What the hell?
What the hell, man? Let's see. Another one, if I could think of it too, is if I could go back to movies for a second as well. Of course. Man of Steel has a great.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Hans Zimmer.
Or is that Batman?
It might have been Batman, I think.
Whoa. Yeah.
But Hans Zimmer uses that for a lot of his themes. But I think Hans Zimmer is probably my second favorite composer next to John Williams as far as movie music goes.
Okay.
He just has a great score, and I think for a lot of his movies, especially Man of Steel, very underappreciated. I think a lot of people didn't like Man of Steel, but it's actually one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think that the score in it is just excellent. It feels very heroic, like a Superman movie should. Yeah. And it has like an all-encompassing theme, and I think Hans Zimmer does a great job as far as that movie goes. But
quick shout-outs to a couple animes: Neon Genesis Evangelion, Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. Oh my god,
a good soundtrack. I feel like there's still, like, now that we're talking about it, there's so many things like I can think about, but it's just like, oh man, you don't have time to talk about all of these things. But yeah. Full Metal Alchemist has a great soundtrack.
It does. Even Brotherhood, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and the original trilogy both have like amazing songs to them.
They're fantastic.
Rewrite from the original series.
Even more than just the opening and closing themes, just the songs in there are good. But opening and closing themes are very, very interesting.
The one by L. Larkin CL. I think that was it was from the original series as well.
Ready, Steady, Go.
Ready, Steady, Go. That's right.
Yes. Oh, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I know you haven't seen that, but Sono Chino Sadome, Stand Proud, the second one, which I'm forgetting. Oh my gosh. And Sono Chino Kyoku, very good. Very good soundtracks, very good show. I recommend everybody watch that.
It's popular right now. I know a lot of people that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Attack on Titan are like the two animes that everybody will not stop recommending for me. So I know at some point I'm going to have to watch those.
You should also watch One Punch Man.
That one, too. I heard that one's good, too.
All right, so I think I'm exhausted on my list. I don't know if there's anything you want to bring up real quick.
No, I think that's pretty much it. But if anything, man, we'll have you back on, and if we really need to discuss more about it, we'll definitely do that.
Oh, absolutely. If I may make a plug.
Yeah, of course. Well, what I was going to say is I think this is where we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. So thanks, guys, so much for watching. And if you want to, go ahead and like us over on Facebook at 0HP. I think it's facebook.com/0HPcrew. And you can follow me on Twitter. My name's Taylor again, by the way, at Taylor the Savior. And then, Kenny, go ahead and give your plugs. I know you got some stuff coming down the pipeline.
I do. Me and a friend of mine started a Let's Play channel back in the day. We had to take a break because he moved and lost his capture card and all this other stuff.
Right.
So we're gonna get back into the swing of things. I'm sure either you or something will throw a link up when they're ready. But on YouTube, we actually do have some stuff. It's We're So Bad At. That's WERESOBADAT, all one word. It's a little hard to find. It's a picture of me without dreadlocks or an afro. And
from a time long
Zach.
Forgotten.
Oh my gosh, it was years ago, man. And so, I think right now what we have up there is some stuff from some years ago. We played Catherine, which we're actually going to do again because that game is great. Asura's Wrath. There are a couple duels in there, which is me and him going head to head. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that's at Sky High Shuffle. If, you want to talk to me and read my BS.
Read your daily thoughts.
My daily thoughts about nothing. So that's that, and we'll be having some stuff coming out soon, and I'm really excited, and maybe we can get some We're So Bad At 0HP crossovers.
I'd love to. I was actually going to say, I have a capture card here with me now.
Ooh.
So at some point, I think there might be a Kenny and Taylor Let's Play.
Ooh.
So.
And then maybe one of these days we'll talk to Zach because we do all of the recording at his place. We'll maybe bring you over sometime because
I would love to.
We have so many systems. We have so many games. He even owns a Dreamcast. Like, how many people do you know own a Dreamcast?
Not many.
Right, yeah. So definitely look for more stuff from not only me, but, 0HP Crew. You guys are great. Thank you for having me on. And
of course, man.
Work together more in the future.
Awesome. All right, I think that'll end us. And once again, stay beautiful out there, people.
Keep playing video games.
Keep playing them. And have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.